Besides shaping wood, your lathe can act as a multi-purpose tool, and I want to show you a couple of examples of how you can use it. Hi, I'm Mike Peace, and I'm passionate about wood turning, and I'm going to share that passion with you with tips, tricks, and techniques to help you become a better wood turner. In this case, I want to show you how to make a sanding disc. You know, a lot of times, you know, if you're a flat worker, you might have a sophisticated sanding disc machine, but if you're a wood turner, maybe you can't justify the expense or you can't afford it. Well, it's simple enough. You take a piece of wood and put some sandpaper. So let me show you how that works. Alright, to make this sanding disc, I cut this 9-inch circle with a circle cutting jig out of Baltic birch. I've tried construction plywood and it's just not good enough. There's too many voids and uneven shapes. So I did have a piece of 3/4 inch Baltic birch, which I should have used the first time. Then you're going to glue on a glue block. You can use a spare faceplate, but you know, threaded glue blocks are easier. Then I have this little center finding jig I'll show you in just a second. So first thing we're going to do is just spread on a little bit of glue, both sides, liberally. Got to rub it on both sides, got to rub that glue in. I'm using Tight Bond, you know, carpenter's glue. And I faced off this block on the lathe to make sure I had a very flat surface. Okay, set that aside for a second. I'll put the top back on, put it away. Alright, so now I'm going to use my center finder, which is basically a 1 1/4 inch dowel with a hole through it that just fits in the middle, and I've got a pin that slides down through there that I can find this hole right here at the bottom because for the circle jig. Let's see if I can find it. It's in there somewhere. It's a tiny hole. That's the only one in there. Okay, so I put this on here, and I just drop this pin into the hole. Whoop. Better get the glue to glue, and then that centers it. And then I just simply turn this, pull this out, and then I've got it centered. Now I'm going to put a little pressure. I'm going to go over to the lathe, thread this on, and bring up a tailstock for support while it dries. And here it is at the lathe with the tailstock support while it dries. I'm using a piece of 9 by 11 80 grit. 80 grit seemed like pretty good grit for something like this. You want it fairly coarse, not too fine, because you want it to generally remove a lot of wood. So I made my disc 9 inches to actually fit this paper. I used my favorite live center to provide some support. Got a nice big surface on it. Okay, I simply sprayed the front of the faceplate with some spray adhesive. I used 3M Super 77. I only put coat on one side because I don't believe it's going to have to hold that strong, and I want to make it easy to get off. And then I'm going to actually just add some brick weights that I keep around the shop, wrapped in duct tape to kind of hold it down. And this is a pretty flat surface, this table saw. You know, I've got a 4-inch oscillated spindle sander, so it's not likely I'd use this a whole lot, but here's how I'd use it. Whoa, got the lathe in reverse. I would use this box rest instead of a more sophisticated table that you could make. The further you go out on the wheel, the more aggressive it's going to be, because you got, you know, moving at a faster miles per hour, and you move to the inside, and it's going to be a little less aggressive because it's going to be a little slower. One of the things I could use this for in a pinch is, you know, if I was out demonstrating, say at a fair or something all day, if I had to, I could actually hone a skew or a bowl gouge in a pinch by using my tool rest against this. It's not my preferred way of doing it, but I could do it if I had to. Let me share a few additional thoughts with you. I believe a screw block, a wood screw block, is the easiest way to do it. And I've got a video, I'll have a link to that at the end of this video, on using a Beal tap to make those glue blocks, because they're real handy. But you can also, if you got a spare faceplate, you can certainly use that. It's just an expensive way to tie up something when you can make one for virtually nothing. If you have a spare lathe, you know, like a little mini lathe, and you've upgraded, I've turned mine, I'm pointing here over here behind me, but I've turned my mini into a dedicated buffing machine. But you could also put a sander on that, or a the honing disc. If you had a spare lathe that you want to keep this sanding disc mounted on, you might justify making a much more sophisticated one. Or if you're an engineer or a flat worker and you just like to make jigs, or you're good at it, you know, you can make one much more sophisticated with, you know, you can add a tilting mechanism, you can add a sanding table to it with a tilting mechanism. You can put miter slots to control your work. Heck, you can add a mud flap to with a self-clemenser valve to it if you like. But that'd be kind of silly, because who'd want to add a mud flap self-clemenser valve to your sander? Be right back. Now, I use Baltic birch for my sanding disc, but you know, as I showed on that honing plate, MDF will work just fine. And I know you can buy these circular sheets in the big box stores in 8-inch, 9-inch, 12-inch. I just didn't want to incur that expense and buy a bunch of sheets. Gluing a sheet on here and cutting it off with a skew works for me. But you know, if you're going to do this a lot, hey, look at those other solutions, or consider making a different size if you're going to buy those things pre-cut. This honing wheel is nothing more than an MDF disc I cut out on a bandsaw and put on a wooden screw block, so I don't have to use a chuck. And because it's flat, I faced this off before I glued it, and because this MDF is the way it's engineered, it's just very flat, so I didn't have to face it off like I otherwise would have. So I heard this tip somewhere, I can't remember who. Put a little WD-40 and it'll help this compound. So I'm using some green metal honing paste I got from Woodcraft. And thanks to Eric Anderson, the Naked Woodturner, for that tip of cutting these little slots. I've cut these slots in about every 60 degrees. Supposedly that's going to help hold some of that honing paste. Stuff happens. That's on the way the bandsaw. I knocked off a can of this lithium grease, and it landed right on my wire that I plug into my camcorder for my remote viewfinder. Cut that thing right in half. So, okay, I can easily splice that. Okay, it's fixed now. Now, Eric put this on his wheel, in which case he had to hone it upside down. Fortunately, I use it on the lathe, so all I've got to do with my lathe is just reverse it, and it goes in the other direction. And I can go ahead and hone it using the tool rest. Get this up to maybe 1200, and just anchor the tool, ride the bevel. When you see that mud coming across, and that should give me a nice razor sharp edge. As always, I appreciate your support. One easy way to support my channel, if you're going to buy something from Amazon, go to through my Amazon shop with a link below in the description. And if you purchase something that I've got there on Woodturning, or you continue on into Amazon and buy something else, I'll get a small commission. So it's an easy way to support my channel. Y'all stay safe and come on back here.